Kemi Badenoch, though, calling for the windfall tax on North Sea oil and gas to be scrapped, also calling for renewal of some oil licences. Catherine Porter's here, independent energy consultant. Catherine, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
If only it were true. I mean, if only we could get some oil and gas exploration going, if only Ed Miliband would see sense. But this government seems incredibly fixated on it, doesn't it? I mean, they cut the budgets of so many different departments, and yet they boosted the energy department by something like nearly 8%.
Well, I mean, it's absolutely crazy. They're persisting with this idea of a windfall tax on oil and gas when there aren't any windfall prices anymore. Crude oil prices are down 40% from their peak,
right,
but gas prices are down 86% from their peak. This is crazy. They're just not in that territory anymore, that a 78% tax rate is in any way justified.
Right.
And some analysts are saying that this is going to cost over £20 billion in lost tax income over the remaining life of the North Sea basin, because producers are cutting back on production.
Yeah.
We've already seen 10,000 jobs lost in the region. Rigs are moving out of the region, and producers are just refocusing their efforts on other parts of the world. And all that's doing is driving imports. So now we have to pay more to import the gas. And oil. We've lost control of the production emissions. We have one of the highest environmental production standards in the world, and obviously if we're importing, we don't have any control over that anymore. And of course then you have all the emissions from shipping. It is just a brain dead policy.
Right, exactly. And of course now we've got a situation where the oil produced practically next door to where our oil is going to be sent to us by Norway. So we're sort of capping the wells, if you like, and then we're going to next door and saying, can we have yours? And we'll pay for it.
Yeah, I mean, I do take some issue with Miliband characterising the Norwegians as evil dictators. I think that's something of a niche view. But we do rely on Norway for our oil and gas even more so than oil. And there's absolutely no reason we can't be maximising our own production. It should be a no-brainer. We're not reducing our consumption in any meaningful way. So why not make as much of it ourselves as we can and not have to import it from other people?
Well, absolutely right. And I mean, as far as the oil, I mean, the oil price might, I suppose, go up a bit over the next few days because of what's happening in the Middle East with the Israelis bombing Iran and all the rest of it. But, the general sort of long-term, shall we say, worthlessness of net zero still doesn't seem to have hit these bozos in government, because at the end of the day, solar panels are all very well up to a point. They're talking about building nuclear plants now, and they say because it will be much better in all weathers, like the weather won't. So they've actually effectively admitted that that renewables don't work when the weather doesn't work.
I know, who knew? And solar power doesn't work at all at night, which still apparently takes some people by surprise. What I'm hearing, though, is quite interesting. So gas prices are coming down, as I mentioned, and by the end of this year, we'll have replaced all of Russian gas with new LNG projects. And although there was some structural tightening that was supporting prices, in the next few years, we should see prices starting to fall back to pre-crisis levels. But I'm hearing stories that actually projects for new wind farms are coming in at much higher prices, that they're pressuring to see the subsidy levels increase significantly. And I think the next subsidy round is really in trouble as a result of this. I struggle to see how Ed Miliband can sign contracts at above £100 a megawatt hour, which I think is what he's going to need to do, when the wholesale price of electricity last year was just £73 a megawatt hour. So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens, because with falling gas prices, those renewable subsidies are looking even more expensive than they were already.
But that's the problem, isn't it? That, at the end of the day, the money's just not going to be there. And if these companies know that the government is so keen to do what they want to do, they'll just sort of hold them to ransom. They'll just double their prices, like all government contractors do.
Well, they will, and because Miliband has announced such high targets, and there's only a finite number of projects participating in the market anyway, and we've seen supply chain costs and financing costs going up significantly. So there's an element where prices have gone up, that's real, but also there's this whole game that they can be playing around extracting as much money as possible. But there are limits to this. I can't see that Ed Miliband is going to be able to sign deals that are materially above the market price of electricity based on gas. His whole narrative about gas being responsible for expensive pricing is already disintegrating, because the average price last year was £10 lower than the price he signed at new offshore wind farms. And so And so these two things are moving in opposite directions. Gas is coming down and the subsidy levels are going up. I simply don't see how he's going to be able to get that over the line.
No, you do wonder, don't you? I think we've got a little clip of Kemi Badenoch's speech. Let's have a look.
Energy situation. I think we need to look at exactly what the mix is in terms of renewables and gas. We have created a very distorted sort of grid distribution system that actually makes energy more expensive. You know, I'm not against renewables, but we are subsidizing something while closing down gas, which is actually quite efficient. Gas should be part of any sort of transition, so we need to look at what we're doing on that. We need to look at what we're doing in the North Sea. Stopping all these companies from investing there is terrible for our energy security, for example. We need to look at the levies that we're putting on people's bills.
Will we finally see the Conservative Party giving up on net zero? I mean, they're sort of hinting at it, aren't they?
Well, yeah, I mean, earlier in the year, Kemi Badenoch gave a speech in which she said that the Conservatives were abandoning the net zero 2050 target. I don't think she's abandoning the idea of net zero altogether, but I think she's saying that it has to be balanced between the ambition to support the climate, but also the costs that's having and the impact on people's bills and the impact on people's jobs, because higher energy is impacting across the economy. We're seeing a lot of businesses closing, manufacturing, offshoring, and it's annoying that the manufacturing is moving to places with dirtier energy. So there's no overall climate benefit from that. It's just harmful for the UK economy. And so I think the Conservatives are starting to understand this, and hopefully in the next few months we'll see them coming out with more policies and more concrete ideas on how they would address it.
Well, we'll see. We look forward to it. Catherine, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Catherine Porter, independent energy consultant there on the Tory and the possible move to a bit more of a less friendly, shall we say, net zero scenario.